When we speak of addiction, what usually comes into our mind is chemical, but there is more to addiction that we'll be exploring today. My name is Sianoki. Let's get talking. Addiction has been defined as a chronic disease that affects the brain's reward, motivation, and memory functions. There are two types of addiction. We have the chemical addiction and the behavioral addiction. The chemical addiction has got to do basically with abuse of drugs or use of hard drugs such as marijuana, cocaine, or abusing alcohol. And in certain cases, they are basically just pain relievers that people tend to abuse, such as tramadol. And then the DSM has also recognized the behavioral addiction. DSM is basically a diagnostic statistical manual. It is a manual that is being used by mental health professionals to diagnose and treat mental illness. And this has undergone a lot of revision. We are currently on the fifth revision, and that has a behavioral addiction. And under the behavioral addiction, you have what we call the gambling addiction and the internet gaming addiction. And even with the internet gaming addiction, you find it at the section recommending for further research, as there is no enough evidence to be able to pinpoint a particular behavior as a disorder, or as having a unique characteristics that can be defined as a disorder. Again, when it comes to behavioral addictions, even though most experts agree with the fact that certain behavior patterns can become problematic, there is still the question of at which point, do we classify a behavior as being a disorder. And there's the fear of labeling everything. You just don't want to get up every day, sweep your room, and then you be categorized as having, a mental disorder. So because there are no evidences to prove that, it becomes a very difficult thing to diagnose. When we do something that we enjoy, such as watching a movie, surfing the internet, visiting a friend, or taking in some alcohol, the reward system in our brain releases a neurotransmitter which we call the dopamine, together with other chemicals. Dopamine in itself does not cause the feeling of pleasure, but then it reinforces the brain's association with certain things and the feelings of pleasure. So when you do something that you like, or we surf the internet and we enjoy it, we have pleasure, doing it, we are reinforced to come back again and again and again and again. As addiction develops, we tend to lose interest in other things that we used to enjoy. So if you enjoy painting, writing, or reading, you realize that your attention is now shifted to whatever you are addicted to, and you have less interest in these other things that you used to enjoy. This is because the brain no longer produces that much dopamine in response to those natural triggers. And you are likely to get to a point whereby you attempt to stop those behaviors. Maybe it is affecting you negatively. You may have lost your job, or on the verge of losing your job, or interfering with your relationships with other people and causing you other problems. And you are doing your possible best to stop those behaviors, but then you are not able to. You feel like you need them in order to survive. I think that is the point where you can clearly see that you really need a help and you should seek help. As I mentioned earlier, the DSM has not outlined specific behaviors that we can categorize as a disorder, but there's an addiction site that basically helps people with addiction, and they have come out with some addictions that people have reported. And this includes sex, includes shopping, exercise, food, internet, and others. So sometimes when you look at the list, even there is work addiction, and when you look at the list, for instance, you may wonder, how are these addictions? And let me give you an example of an exercise addiction. So a young man wants to get a six-pack, and then you sign up for a gym. You start going to the gym, you realize that, yeah, the six-packs are showing, you are getting good feedback, it's rewarding, so you are motivated to do more. So you go again, and again, and get to a point whereby people feel like, I think it's okay, you shouldn't do it again, because probably, yeah, the body is building and all. But at that point, the person just goes on and on and on and on. So that's just like an example. You get it? So it makes sense that there's still, this debate as to which point to categorize something as a disorder. But then once a behavior is affecting your day-to-day activities, it's not making you productive, sometimes you have to lie in order to engage in that behavior, or you have to sneak, to engage in that behavior, or it is affecting your job, it is affecting your productivity, you are not able to do as much as you are supposed to do, and you're on the verge of losing your job. Some people have lost their jobs and relationships, or because of addiction. When it gets to that point that you see that this is interfering with my life, that is when we recommend that you seek help. Every behavior that is learned can be unlearned, but it takes a little bit of an effort. It takes some discipline in order to do that, and sometimes you need help to be able to deal with that. Next time I come your way, I'll talk on how to be an active social media user and still be productive. And maybe through that video, you'll be able to get some tips or some solutions on how to deal with some of this behavioral addiction. Thank you once again for joining me. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. I really do appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed, kindly join us as we pursue to become better versions of ourselves. And if you are new, hey, welcome. My name is Sianoki, and I make videos on mental health and food. So don't be confused when you see any of them showing up on your screens. Thank you so much once again, and until I see you again, remember that a healthy mind lives in a healthy body. Stay safe, stay blessed.